any compliance, and they don't do their job.
Because they don't have no incentive to. They're getting free money. Isn't that right?
Yes, I think so, yes.
We got to change this, General.
Tonight on the controversy desk, Senator John Kennedy ignites a political firestorm after accusing California of using taxpayer-funded Medicaid money for exorcisms, gym memberships, scooters, and more. His explosive exchange left the hearing room stunned.
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Senator.
In America, unlike other countries, where they let you die in a ditch, in America, if you're too poor to be sick, we'll pay for your doctor. Isn't that right?
It is.
And one of the programs we do that through is Medicaid.
Correct.
Okay. And this money for Medicaid, it didn't just fall from heaven. We thank heaven for it, but it came out of people's pockets, didn't it?
Every dime of it.
And some of that money is stolen, isn't it?
Yes.
And the states, not all of them, but many of them, allow it to be stolen, don't they?
Yes.
Let's take Medicaid in California, for example. I don't mean to just pick on California, but because this happens in other states. We saw it happen in Minnesota, for example. But in California, for every dollar that the California state government puts up for Medicaid, for the Obamacare portion of Medicaid, the federal taxpayer puts up $9, don't they? And so, is that right?
That's correct, Senator.
And so as a result, California has allowed thousands and thousands of these social assistance and so-called health care providers pop up in California, haven't they?
Yes.
And some of those providers steal the money, don't they?
Yes, we know that to be true. Yes.
And the money never gets to the people they supposedly are trying to help. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And the other way that California and others abuse the fact that they're putting up $1 and the American taxpayers putting up $9. Did I mention it was $9?
I think some say it's even more, but yeah. 9 work.
They expand the services, don't they?
Yes.
Because some states, like California, I don't want to paint with too broad a brush. It's not everybody in California state government, but it's a lot of them. They see this as free money, don't they?
They're not paying for it, yes.
Isn't it a fact that, for example, Medicaid in California will pay a provider to provide tribal prayers? I looked all this up.
I mean, I'll accept that. I didn't know that, but yes.
That California will actually pay a health care provider, I didn't know this was a medical expertise, to pay for exorcisms. Is that right?
I'll accept that, Senator, but that's...
The California Medicaid program will pay for herbal medicines, meal deliveries. They'll pay for housing. I don't know what housing has to do with health care. Is that correct?
Yes.
Were you aware that the Medicaid program using federal money, taxpayer money, will pay for an in-home chef?
Yes.
Okay.
If it's a family member, yes.
Yeah, they'll even pay for gymnasium fees through Medicaid in California. They'll pay for bicycles, scooters, gym memberships. Did you know that?
Yes, several states do, but California does for sure.
They'll even repay your student loans. Were you aware of that?
I was not aware of the student loans repayment.
Yeah, they'll repay somebody's student loans to encourage them to become a health care provider. I mean, California, they're just setting all kind of records. These folks are they're wild people. California's got 12% of the population. In the last 10 years, they're responsible for half of these new so-called health providers to provide exorcisms and other things. Now, what the hell are we doing about it? Why has this gone on for so long?
Senator, listen, it's a great question. And what you just described are programs that are allowed under the program. You have a whole other issue in California where a lot of these folks are just stealing the money, not even running it through for exorcism.
They're thieves, aren't they?
They're thieves, correct.
And California just watches it happen, don't they? Not everybody in California. The government does, doesn't it?
Well, that's the challenge in a lot of states, is that we don't have a state government, which you all have entrusted to run these programs and take care of the money that you all give them. There's state structures that absolutely do not do any compliance, and they don't do their job.
Because they don't have no incentive to. They're getting free money. Isn't that right?
Yes, I think so, yes.
We got to change this, General.
We're trying.
I call this a slush fund. You want to talk about slush fund? This is a tier 1 slush fund that's been going on for years and years and years. Billions and hundreds of billions of dollars is stolen.
Yes, Senator. And that's why, look, this department stood up a whole new fraud division, and AUSAs around the country prosecute fraud every day. So it's not as if we didn't have the work out there, but it's so systematically taking money from the American taxpayer that we very much believe that it needs its own stand-up structure. And I think it's true for the reasons that you just said.
If you need an exorcism, you can go to California, can't you?
Thank you, Senator.
This hearing quickly evolved from a discussion about Medicaid oversight into a fiery political confrontation over taxpayer spending, government accountability, and alleged abuse within state-run healthcare programs. Senator John Kennedy aggressively questioned officials about how federal Medicaid funds are being used in California, arguing that the system has become dangerously vulnerable to waste, fraud, and questionable spending priorities. His frustration became obvious as he repeatedly emphasized that Medicaid money comes directly from hardworking American taxpayers and should be treated with far greater responsibility. The most explosive moment came when Kennedy highlighted claims that California's Medicaid program covers services ranging from tribal prayers and herbal medicine to gym memberships, scooters, meal deliveries, and even what he described as exorcisms. While some of the programs fall under broader health and wellness initiatives approved through state Medicaid flexibility rules, Kennedy portrayed them as examples of government spending completely detached from traditional healthcare. His sarcastic remark, "If you need an exorcism, you can go to California," immediately became one of the hearing's most viral moments. But beyond the headlines and dramatic soundbites, Kennedy's larger argument focused on how federal Medicaid funding structures may encourage states to overspend without proper oversight. He repeatedly pointed out that for every dollar California contributes towards certain Medicaid expansions, federal taxpayers contribute significantly more. According to Kennedy, this imbalance creates little incentive for states to carefully monitor spending or aggressively prevent fraud. Officials acknowledged during the hearing that large-scale Medicaid fraud remains a serious problem and that billions of taxpayer dollars may be lost through abuse, theft, and weak enforcement systems. The exchange also reflected a broader national debate about the expanding role of government healthcare programs and how flexible Medicaid funding should be. Supporters of California's approach argue that many non-traditional services, including housing support, nutrition assistance, transportation, and wellness programs, can improve long-term health outcomes and reduce costly emergency care. Critics, however, believe the system has expanded far beyond its original purpose and now operates with insufficient accountability while placing massive financial burdens on federal taxpayers. By the end of the hearing, Kennedy made his position unmistakably clear, describing the system as a Tier 1 slush fund that has been draining taxpayer money for years. His remarks captured growing frustration among lawmakers who believe Medicaid fraud and spending abuse are not being taken seriously enough at the state level. The hearing ultimately became about much more than California alone. It exposed deeper national tensions over government spending, healthcare oversight, federal-state responsibility, and whether taxpayers can trust that billions of public dollars are being managed responsibly in increasingly complex social programs.